Did you know that the average human spends roughly 32,000 hours eating in their lifetime? You'd think that after all that time, you would know a thing or two about food and nutrition. Well, perhaps not. Hi viewers, and welcome back to another Bestie video. Nutrition is key to a healthy life, but thanks to internet trends, it can be difficult to separate facts from fiction, especially when it comes to food and diets. And in today's video, we'll bust some of the common myths floating around. From all carbs and calories being bad, everyone should give up gluten, sea salt being better than regular salt, to nutrition labels always being factual, and more. Watch till the end to learn about all of them. Number 1. Low fat is always healthy. While it is true that eliminating unhealthy fats from your diet can improve your overall health and help you lose weight, switching to a low-fat diet isn't necessarily a good thing. Processed foods that claim to be low-fat usually contain larger amounts of sugar or sugar substitutes to make up the difference in taste. On the other hand, fresh fruits and vegetables are examples of naturally low-fat foods that are good for you. Which low-fat foods you thought were healthy were actually unhealthy? Tell us quickly down below in the comment section. Number 2. Calories are calories. Just as you don't want to judge a book by its cover, don't judge a food by its calorie content. Try to ditch the calorie counts because the truth is, not all calories are created equal. 400 calories of a chocolate cake is not the same as 400 calories of a quinoa tofu and veggie bowl. Rather than focusing on calories, look at the big nutritional picture and ask, does the food contain adequate protein and fiber? These are the two key nutrients that will keep you satisfied. Number 3. Raw vegetables are healthier. Proponents of a raw food diet preach that food should never be heated above a certain temperature because natural enzymes in living food are best for the body. As a rule, that's silly. Cooking does cause nutrients to degrade in some cases, like vitamin C in spinach, but in other cases, it increases the availability of nutrients, like lycopene in tomatoes. The best way to eat veggies is whatever way you like to eat them. Number 4. The ideal way to increase weight loss is to minimize fat intake. There are some vitamins, such as vitamins A, D, E, and K, that can only be absorbed with dietary fat, and we need these important vitamins to support everything from vision and immunity to bone density and heart health. Saturated fats found in beef, lamb, pork, cream, butter, and cheese should be limited to less than 10% of your total intake. While you don't want to eat too much saturated fat, try and steer clear of low-fat and no-fat alternatives. These typically include added sugars and processed ingredients. Number 5. If it's healthy, then you can eat unlimited amounts. Creamy nut butters, whole nuts, avocados, and olive oil are good for you, but that doesn't give you the green light to have as much as you want. Eating too much healthy foods can lead to weight gain, which is why portion control is important. About 1 tablespoon nut butter or olive oil, 1/4 to half an avocado, or 1/4 cup whole nuts is considered a balanced amount. Feel like you're missing out? Make sure you join millions of viewers by hitting that subscribe button and staying up to date on all our great Bestie content. Number 6. Everyone should give up gluten. Yes, more people have celiac disease than we realized. Plus, some research has shown modern forms of wheat are more difficult for the body to digest than ancient forms such as einkorns. And some studies have shown that modern processing techniques can make gluten harder to digest, even if you aren't celiac. All this is to say, if you've got GI issues, it's worth looking into gluten. But if it's in your diet in small amounts and you're feeling amazing, there's no need to cut it out. Number 7. You need to eat regularly to keep your metabolism going. Not eating for long periods of time can cause a reduction in your metabolic rate, but going an entire day without eating is an issue, not a couple of hours. It's best to leave at least 3 to 4 hours in between meals to allow the hormones that control fat metabolism to return to normal levels. Number 8. Superfoods are healthier. The term superfood is a marketing tool to promote foods that have health benefits. These foods are double the price but don't give double the nutrients. For example, kale may be a superstar green, but good old spinach or broccoli are just as nutritious. There's no one food that's going to cure disease or miraculously trim fat. Variety is the key. Number 9. All carbs are bad. Carbohydrates are macronutrients that get a bad rap, but many foods fit under this umbrella. Carbohydrates break down into glucose, which is your body's preferred source of fuel, and our bodies require carbohydrates daily to fuel the brain. It's the quality of carbohydrates consumed that either leads to fat gain or fat loss. Simple carbohydrates like sugar and fruit juices lead to fat gain, whereas complex carbohydrates like whole grains and cereals or whole fruits lead to sustained energy levels and fat loss. Number 10. Nutrition labels are always factual. How many calories does a 100-calorie pack of mini Oreos have? The answer's not obvious. Nutrition fact labels are mandated by the US FDA in accordance with the 1990 Nutrition Labeling and Education Act. Unfortunately, they're not always factual. Really, the law allows a 20% margin of error for the stated value of calories and nutrients. In other words, your 100-calorie pack of mini Oreos could, theoretically and legally, cost you 120 calories. One study evaluated the true caloric content of 24 common food products and found calories to be higher by an average of 4%. One popular snack's carbohydrate content exceeded label statements by 7% according to the study. An investigative piece by the New York Times calorie detective found similar unsettling results. Of the 5 everyday food items from chains like Subway, Starbucks, and Chipotle that were sent for lab testing, 4 had more calories than their labels reported. This adds up to 550 calories in excess, enough to put on an extra pound of body weight in a week. Bottom line, labels are a good guideline, but don't obsess over calorie counting. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Number 11, you need to combine foods to create complete proteins at meals. Those skipping meat are often told to combine plant-based foods to create complete proteins, which contain all of the essential amino acids. In fact, the theory of protein complementing was proposed by Frances Moore Lapp in the 70s. In later editions of her book, she corrected the mistake to reflect the prevailing scientific position. As long as individuals are eating enough calories of varied plant-based food, they'll almost always get all the essential amino acids and meet daily protein requirements. In other words, yes, rice and beans are complementary, but you don't have to mix them together during the same meal in order to benefit from the protein each offers on its own. Number 12, skim milk has more sugar than full cream milk. A shift toward more natural eating has seen health enthusiasts keen to eat their foods in as natural a state as possible. It's often argued that skim milk is more processed than full cream milk, and that it contains more sugar, which isn't the case. One of the main reasons to swap full cream dairy to low-fat varieties is to stop consuming too much saturated fat. And as dairy and meat are 2 of the largest sources of saturated fat in the diet, it makes sense to make the switch. If you have a low-fat intake overall and are slim and fit with no history of heart disease, full cream milk is unlikely to cause any harm. One of the best ways to make milk healthier for you is to add turmeric to it. Learn more about the health benefits by watching Drink Turmeric Milk for a Week. This will happen to your body. Now back to the most common nutrition myths debunked. Number 13, that perfect, life-changing diet is just around the corner. Here's the truth about diets. In general, they just don't work for the long term. Statistics on this topic vary depending on the source, but some research indicates that about 80% of people who lose a significant amount of body fat will not maintain that weight loss for a full year. Experts say dramatic weight swings can wreak havoc on your metabolism, not to mention set the stage for potential eating disorders. The bottom line is that there's no quick one-size-fits-all fix when it comes to a healthy diet. Every single person and every single body is unique, and no single diet will ensure overall wellness for everyone. Number 14, going to the gym means you can eat whatever you like. Many regular gym goers use their workouts to justify eating extra calories. The problem is that for many of us, the exercise is simply making up for all the time we spend sitting down. If we then eat more because we've trained, we don't get the sustained calorie deficits that support weight loss. Number 15, sea salt is a healthier version of regular salt. Everyday table salt comes from a mine and contains roughly 2,300 milligrams of sodium per teaspoon. Sea salt comes from evaporated seawater, and it also contains roughly 2,300 milligrams of sodium. That makes them, well, roughly identical. Advocates point to the fact that sea salt also contains other compounds like magnesium and iron, but in truth, these minerals exist in trace amounts. To obtain a meaningful dose, you'd have to take in extremely high and potentially dangerous levels of sodium. What's more, traditional table salt is regularly fortified with iodine, which plays an important role in regulating the hormones in your body. Sea salt, on the other hand, gives you virtually zero iodine. The bottom line is, if switching from table salt to sea salt causes you to consume even 1 extra granule, then you've just completely snuffed out whatever elusive health boost you hope to receive. Not just foods, but there's a lot of myths floating around the internet about water and acne. See these myths debunked by watching How to Actually Get Rid of Acne and Myths About Acne, or 6 Detox Water Recipes and Busted Detox Water Myths. So go ahead and watch one or both of these videos for maximum benefits. What's the craziest myth around food you've always believed? Let us know in the comments below.